when I'm talking about breaking my patterns and breaking my arm at the same time, it is related to the pattern of your mindset. The first pattern that I'm going to talk about is my mindset, or our mindset in general. You know, when we are so used to believe that we are what we do, as I mentioned, and I think I spent most of my life believing that I was valued, or my value depended on the things that I could do for others, and even the things that I could do for myself. But the more that I prove my value to others by achievements, by things, by, I don't know, by trying to follow their own model related to life. Let me give you an example. And for so many people, diplomas and certificates are super important in this world. If you have a master's degree, if you have this, if you have that. So I would find myself subconsciously hyping those parts of myself, like, oh, I've studied this, I did that, and etc. When I was having conversations with that kind of people, the kind of people that valued academics, yes, above all, okay. And so in those kind of settings, in those group settings, I was going to, for example, without even realizing, I was going to ask, like, to try to, I don't know, I was going to try to, yes, to push an idea that, okay, so this year I'm going to study this and I'm going to do that, and the objective is this and the objective for that is that. Justify my decision, yes, in order to show without realizing to those people that, okay, I am doing what is expected, yes, from me. I am doing what you consider valuable. Okay, so you think having a master degree, a university degree, and certificates and all that is valuable. Okay, that is like in the everyday life of people, is that you're a walking resume. Okay, in some cases you're a walking resume. What do I mean by that? I mean that I've met people in which their conversation revolves around, for example, what do you do for a living? Okay, that's a very common conversation. Or where did you study? What did you study? What was your major? Oh, interesting. And they would classify, and me too. I was falling into that concept too. I was thinking in some moment, yeah, that when meeting people, okay, so what did you study? Where do you work? What do you do? What are your aspirations? What are your goals? And according to that answer, according to whatever they were studying, where they were working, I wasn't paying attention to if they liked what they were doing, if they were somehow, I don't know, inspired by what they were doing. No, I was more focused on, okay, does this person has the value, the academic value, the knowledge, and all that. And based on that, I realized that I was holding on to those patterns when this situation happened. And so I spent most of my life trying to measure myself according to different kind of values, yes? Whether it be social values, academic values, personal values, or skills. And because of my personality, yes, and because of the world that we live right now, in which if you're not doing anything, well, you don't exist. You should be doing something. I mean, we are constantly being pushed to reach our potential, yes, to reach for the stars, to achieve goals. And it's all about, okay, you graduate, and then what's going to be your master degree, okay, and then where are you going to work, and then are you going to get married, and then when are you going to have children, and then, and it's always then, there's always something, yes, there's always a carrot in front of you telling you that you are not good enough, okay? That means that you are a nice person and all that, but you don't have a degree in this, but you don't work in this area, but you're not married, but you don't have any children, but, and there are lots of buts along the way. I'm checking my hair all the time, and there are lots of buts along the way, and I found out myself that I was spreading myself so thin to feel, to fit in all those categories. Yeah, to fit in all those categories, because for this circle of people, which I value a lot, and which I discover another pattern, of course, that everybody wants validation, everybody wants an appraisal, everybody wants to be seen, everybody wants to be cared for, everybody wants to be heard. So in my case, all the decisions and the things that I've been trying to guide myself to, or I was trying to live my life through, they were other people's values. They were other people's concepts of what they believed it was a success, or what it was believed to be the next step. Okay, so now you're here. What are you going to do next, and what are you going to do next? So, because of this arm, the broken arm, I found myself not able, yes, to hype myself up with the skills and with the academics and all that. Yes, I've achieved all this and I did many different things, but when it came to the point that I was in my house alone, on my own, and trying to take a screenshot of my life in that moment, and I started thinking, what if you are not your past or the things that you did up to this point, and you're not your plans or your future or the things that you want to do for yourself or the dreams that you have for yourself? So, who are you? What kind of person are you? If you are not defined, are not labeled, yes, by everything that you were told to. For example, if I am not a teacher because I'm on holiday, if I am not a writer because, okay, I cannot write at this moment, and you're not an illustrator because I cannot draw at this moment. I mean, I can, but you know what I mean. And or even if you make mistakes when you speak English, oh my God, you're not an English teacher. So I found myself thinking about all those things, and I was trying to redefine myself in this process of what if I'm not anything that happened. I'm not anything that what I did before. A clean slate, you know, an empty canvas. So try to recalibrate, figure out again, who are you? Who are you when you're not defined by the labels that other people put on you, or the labels that you even put in yourself? Who are you apart from the things that you achieved? Who are you apart from the things that you bought? For example, it is very simple, this idea or this concept when we are talking to other people, or when you, for example, when you have a date and when you're asking people, okay, tell me about yourself. And when they tell me about yourself, is more about, well, I am this, I do that, I work for this, I studied that, and etc., etc. And those are the labels we use the most. So I was trying to find new labels for me, and I realized that I couldn't find any. And at the beginning, it was terrible because I spent most of my life defining myself, yes, by achievement. I spent most of my life running after that carrot, you know, that dangling carrot in front of my eyes, that once I get there, I'm going to be valued. Once I get there, I'm going to be seen. once I get there, I'm going to be recognized by my peers, by my friends, by my family. And every time I got to different little carrots, I realized that apart from the clock and the appraisal of my circles and my different groups of people, I was feeling exactly the same. I mean, the feeling was very, that achievement feeling was very, very short. It was sweet, but it was very short. Like, okay, I got a new degree. Okay, I got this job. Okay, I got this. And imagine this when I'm trying to say, I got this, I achieved this. But when we're talking about the things that we cannot measure personal growth, we cannot measure emotional growth. Well, we sometimes can. We cannot measure so many different things that are not related to achieving other things. And I realized that I had my scales completely upward. And I realized that I was judging others the same way I was being subconsciously judged by myself. So, you have a dream. Okay, what are you doing with that dream? Are you pursuing your dream? Are you following the steps? Are you getting up early? Are you having that 5 a.m. routine? Are you doing your meal prep? Are you going to the gym? Are you doing this and you're doing that? I focused on that so much. I focused on becoming the best version of myself. And when I focused on becoming the best version of myself, that implied keeping studying, keep getting healthy, keep in shape, and read more, and so on, right? But there were so many different models. And if you watch YouTube, you will see them all, okay? How I changed my life in like 3 days, and how I did this in like 4 days, and etc., etc. But it actually, all of them are just models, and they work for some people, they don't work for everybody. And because I discovered this pattern of myself in which I was valuing myself, my sense of self-worth was only related to the validation of those around me who had a very specific set of values. And I was trying to fit in those different sets of values. And of course, different groups have different values. So in this group, I would have tried to force these values and so on. And I realized with this situation that, I realized with this situation that, okay, apart from everything that I did before and that I've done before, apart from that, yes, what's my value level? I cannot even cut a tomato properly, okay? And I cannot even draw a box properly. And so I was defining myself through all those things, through my skills, and that is something that I actually learned during this process, and that I'm learning. I cannot say that I learned, that I'm learning. And pay attention to this, because it was very, very, very interesting for me to see the difference. Self-confidence and self-worth are two completely different things. Let me repeat that again. Self-confidence and self-worth are two different things. And what do I mean by that? Self-confidence comes from achievement, comes from the things that you can do or make, comes from your skills, and that comes from consistency, and that comes from discipline, and there are a lot of things that you can do to build your self-confidence. If you show up for yourself every day, if you become consistent with your workouts, with your diet, with your study routine, and etc., you will see gradually, sooner than later, the results. You will see them, they're tangible. Okay, even if you work out and you just started working out, and you spend that the first 3 months, I don't see any results, I don't see any changes. You just keep showing up, right? Because that's what everybody's telling you. It's a process. It is a process. You show up for yourself every day. The same with your diet. The same with everything about yourself. That is self-confidence. So I was feeling quite confident, and when people look at me and say, well, you do look like a self-confident person. Yeah, I am a self-confident person because I trust I trust in my ability to do something. I trust in my physical ability to do something. I trust in my mental capacity to do something, to understand something, and to put that into practice. So I completely trust in that because I've seen it with myself throughout the years. Okay, when I was a kid at school, when I was a teenager in high school, throughout different jobs, throughout different careers, but not different careers, but different like perspectives on the same career. And so I feel pretty confident that if you give me time, I'm sure I can do it. Maybe it will take from 5 minutes to 10 years. I don't care. But we know that eventually anything that you put your consistency, your effort, and you show up every day to do it, it will give you tangible results. Now, on the other hand, we have self-worth. Self-worth is such a different concept from self-confidence because it doesn't depend on what you do. It depends on your values. It depends on the way you feel about yourself. It depends on how you manage your own emotions. It depends on how do you deal with challenges. It depends on how do you deal with a failure. Or even if failure is something that you consider, because there's no such thing as failure for me. It is always a challenge to overcome. It is always a lesson to be learned, and that's a perspective that has been helping me a lot in so many different areas of my life. And especially when I talk to my students, like, oh man, I failed. No, you didn't fail. You just understand a new way to do things. And the same here. Of course, it's not going to be perfect when I cut the tomato, or when I draw, or when I try to write with my non-dominant hand. But the more I practice and the more I show up for myself and the more I stay consistent, yeah, on learning that, my self-confidence was going to be okay. So I focused on that. I was feeling bad about myself because I wasn't able to do many different things with this hand. So I focused, again, falling in that pattern, I focused in perfecting skills. I focused in being skilled with my other hand. I focused on, oh, look what I can do with this hand now. I can play ping pong with my other hand. I can cut a tomato with my other hand. And I was falling into the very same pattern, believing that achievement and self-confidence was equal to self-worth. And this is something that I just realized like 2 days ago. And what happens if I am not skilled? What happens if I don't do anything? What happens if instead of like writing down what I think, or even recording what I think of my own visions, reflections on the subject, what if I don't do anything? What if I don't do any of that? Where's the value? So I found myself thinking about that. thinking that maybe this is not the time in which I measure myself with by things that I can do and I can't do, which I was doing. Like, okay, so today I was able to do this, and yesterday I wasn't able to do that, and even sometimes those are the things that we tell our children, we tell our students, like, yeah, you see, today you were able to do this, but yesterday you couldn't. Look at you, wow! And without even realizing, we are applying that model again. You should feel happy because you are skilled at something. You should feel self-worthy or valued or seen because you were able to do something or to make something. And I don't want to see myself like that anymore. I mean, I know I'm capable, and I know we all are capable if we set our mind to just put one step after the other, and as I said, keep showing up. I mean, if I want to have healthy habits, you just do them. Just keep showing up. You can make a choice at every moment because it's tangible, it's in front of your eyes. You can make the choice of take 15 minutes every day to study something or take 15 minutes every day to take a nap, and both of them are okay. But in my mind, yes, I thought that taking 15 minutes, yes, to take a course was more important than taking 15 minutes to take a nap. Actually, let me correct myself because I always try to take naps, and I believe those naps are the most important part of learning something. At least in my case, I finish learning something, at least in my case. So, having said that, I think the first pattern that I realized that I was falling into again and again and again was validating myself through others, yes, first by overcoming this situation by being proactive, okay, instead of complaining and feeling bad and all that, by being proactive, and I can do this and I can do that, by training my other arm and by showing my abilities, my skill, the way that I can be even more skilled in the future, okay, by taking this time to rest and to start learning new things and to start focusing on new projects and projects like this. And then, again, I was falling in the same pattern. I was falling in the pattern of doing, developing skills, perfecting skills. And maybe, self-worth is not related to that. Self-worth is related to how you feel about yourself, how safe you feel in your own environment, how comfortable you feel in your own skin, how loved you feel by yourself and by others. And I spent most of my life believing that people would love me more because of my self-confidence, because of the things that I could do for them and all that. But then, due to this, I wanted to love myself harder. I wanted to love myself more. I wanted to show myself that you don't need to do anything. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be doing things all the time to show that you value. You don't need to do anything but exist. And as I mentioned before, there is no race for that. There is no valid model. I mean, The model that works for my twin brother is not the same model that works for me. And I cannot give you a better example than that. I'm a twin. And he has a different lifestyle, and I have my own lifestyle. But somehow I found myself trying to achieve or trying to prove myself to him that that lifestyle, his lifestyle, was the correct, or that lifestyle was the correct one. And until I realized that everybody has their own path, everybody has their own concept of success, everybody has their own perception on themselves. It sounds stupid and it sounds pretty basic, but once you sit down with yourself and start thinking, okay, how could I define myself if I am not anything that I've done before, and I'm not anything that I plan to do in the future? What would you say about yourself in this moment? Would you go towards the self-confidence direction or the self-worth direction?